I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Instead of silencing her detractors, Rachel Zegler's article ignited the match that set everything on fire. The Snow White actress stared into the camera in a now-viral video that was taken from what appeared to be her bedroom with a mixture of defiance and frustration. She maintained that people continue to turn up and queue up to support her work in spite of all the vitriol she has received online. Her tone wavered between passive-aggressive outrage and tearful vulnerability as she defended her performance and pointed out the criticism that has surrounded the project since it was announced.
When I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
She talked with the assurance of someone attempting to take back her story. However, the internet had other ideas. A few minutes later, video snippets were spreading like wildfire. It was sown by TikTokers with responses ranging from comic sketches to incredulity.
Excuse me, your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
Rachel had unwittingly given her detractors a gold mine when her former Twitter plunged into complete chaos rather than providing the redemption narrative she had intended for.
Snow White, budget $250 million, box office $43 million. Oh, but it's only been 2 days, give it a chance. No, I'm not gonna give it a chance. I'm not even talking about that number. Because like all the flops are unsurprising at this point. Something is going on behind the scenes with almost every major animation, video game, and movie studio that they're doing this intentionally or something. I don't f***ing know. I'm not even gonna talk about this. People are like, oh wow, Snow White flopped. Who is surprised? You cast arguably the least genuine, most out of touch, and disliked person in her industry, and her industry is Hollywood. And the bad guy is Gal Gadot.
The entire story was revealed by the hashtags. What ought to have been a sincere defense by Tash Snowflake was viewed as tone-deaf, egotistical, and disconnected from the actual reaction of the movie. Everyone wasn't surprised by this. Many people had been anticipating this moment on the internet.
Alright guys, I watched Snow White, so you don't have to. Let's get into it. Now first things first, Snow White gets her name not from the fairness of her skin, as we obviously know Rachel Zegler would be a miscast in that sense. Instead, she gets her name from surviving a snowstorm. Her father and mother are king and queen to a utopian communist society. I'm not joking, guys. Everybody shares and is mindful of what each person is getting, and we spread our resources evenly, which is where this idea of fairness, as Snow White is the fairest of them all, is really presented in the film.
Some are even commemorating it. Like clockwork, screenshots of review bombing meme threads making fun of her claims that she doesn't need a prince, and out-of-context quotes from previous interviews reappeared.
I'm a narcissist. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently snow.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. People will assume it's a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not gonna be saved by the prince.
She's not gonna be saved by the prince, and she's not gonna be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
What started out as a fairy tale comeback turned into a virtual witch trial. Furthermore, they did not view the evil queen as the villain. People remembered Rachel's previous press appearances in which she dismissed the original 1937 Snow White as strange and unsettling.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Rejecting its romantic core as being out of date, those clips were as old as milk. However, the internet outcry was more than simply rhetoric. It was reflected in concrete data. Snow White debuted at the domestic box office to an incredibly low $45 million. For a Disney live-action reimagining, much less one that preserved the company's original animated film's legacy, that number was stunning, especially when compared to The Little Mermaid, which despite its own issues and online debates drew in a solid $95 million on its first weekend. Not only were box office analysts worried, they were astounded. Some referred to it as Disney's worst mistake in years, while others just dubbed it a failure. In any case, the ramifications were swift and the numbers were unmistakable. In order to make room for better performing films and move Snow White to less popular showtimes, major theater chains started to subtly remove the movie from their largest screens. Within the second week, some locations completely stopped showing the movie. This was new ground for a corporation like Disney, which is renowned for controlling the movie theater industry. Additionally, it was a public unraveling for Rachel. After viewers had already turned away, not even Disney's marketing apparatus could salvage the story. The Oscars followed.
Please welcome Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot.
Visual effects push the boundaries of what we see on screen.
Their work makes the impossible seem possible.
With breathtaking ambition, they create magic that wraps its arms around our wildest imaginations.
Here are the nominees for Best Visual Effects.
The tension was high when Rachel and co-star Gal Gadot walked the red carpet together in what should have been a joyful appearance. The pair's images and videos revealed a glaring absence of warmth. During press appearances, Gal stood stiffly and avoided eye contact, hardly acknowledging Rachel. Online observers noted right away. Experts in body language and gossip blogs quickly pointed out what Disney PR had attempted to minimize. These two women did not get along. No longer. Additionally, insiders subsequently verified that Gal Gadot has decided to discreetly separate herself from the project and its star, despite having a contractual obligation to promote the movie. The fact that Gal Gadot's own reputation appeared unaffected by the aftermath only made matters worse. She kept landing positions, negotiating brand agreements, and making uncontroversial appearances at industry gatherings. Rachel, meantime, was surrounded by criticism while feeling more and more alone. She was hailed by a few ardent admirers. The purpose of her Oscars presence was damage control. Rather, it solidified her role as the spokesperson for Snow White's downfall. She had lost all of the goodwill that had once accompanied her from West Side Story. Her attempt to update a classic seemed insulting. Her attempt to regain control of the story failed catastrophically, and her confidence now came off as arrogance. Her public image and possibly her entire career trajectory were shattered by what was meant to be her breakthrough main role. Although Rachel Zegler's viral meltdown served as the catalyst, the fire had been simmering for months. Online users quickly dug through previous interviews as soon as the box office statistics started to plummet, re-emphasizing every contentious moment. Her now famous adaptation of the original Snow White is the most notable of all. Rachel was shown scoffing at the romance and rolling her eyes in film after clip, rejecting the 1937 classic as strange and archaic. She also insisted that her version would be nothing like that. She proclaimed with pride that the new Snow White would not be waiting about, would not dream of true love, and would not be saved by a prince. However, she was ridiculed for failing to get the meaning and for disparaging a beloved movie rather than being praised for her feminist version. Not all of the criticism came from trolls or fringe voices. Longtime Disney fans who purchase merchandise, visit the theme parks, and attend opening weekend feel disrespected. Grandparents shared TikToks explaining how the original had impacted them as children and why they were not interested in seeing it reimagined by someone who seemed to have nothing but contempt for it after parents declared they would not take their children to see a film in which the lead actress had openly disrespected the original. Even people who were not biased started to criticize Rachel's attitude during the press tour in addition to the tone of her remarks. Every comment area was filled with phrases like arrogant, entitled, and out of touch. Additionally, unlike many celebrities who are able to mobilize business allies or gracefully handle public criticism, Rachel was all by herself. her co-stars didn't publicly tweet their support. No sympathetic remarks from fellow actresses discussing how difficult the business can be. No directors standing up for her. Even a single act of support would have made a difference in the eerie silence that surrounded her, but none did. Instead, their absence shouted loudly. Hollywood appeared to be taking a step back already. Behind the scenes, that silence had actual repercussions. There were rumors that Rachel's plans for the future were now being re-examined. A trade publication was informed by a studio insider that although she was first in negotiations for some well-known parts, the discussions had considerably slowed down. There were rumors that whole marketing departments were reconsidering if she could still serve as a campaign anchor. Did she have bankability? Would people purchase tickets to see her, or would they link her to negative reviews, bad press, and underwhelming box office results? Perception is everything, and Rachel Zegler, who was originally positioned as the new face of Gen Z celebrity following her breakthrough in West Side Story, is now being seen as a cautionary tale. It's a brutal reality, but Hollywood has always operated on this principle. Her ascent had been spectacular. The acclaim from reviewers, the Golden Globe, and Spielberg's own commendation all pointed to the next great thing. However, all of that momentum was lost with Snow White. Her once bright, promising image had tarnished. Even worse, this wasn't an isolated incident. The timing of the repercussions made it worse. In a time when people are more willing to vote with their money and have more opinions than ever before, there was more to Rachel's controversy than just poor PR. It turned to become a symbol. She was seen by some as the embodiment of everything that was wrong with the way that classic movies were being remade. Others saw her as a representation of unbridled celebrity narcissism. The idea was that people were rejecting her, not just ignoring the film. According to insiders, Rachel's team is rushing. According to reports, Rachel's managers, publicists, and agents are attempting to change the narrative by requesting soft press appearances and redemption-style features, but the damage may already be done. It's difficult to undo viral videos, and it's much more difficult to win back the trust of audiences who feel betrayed. Stars in the business have recovered from harsher situations, but only after having the grace to say sorry or the charisma to win people back. Additionally, Rachel hasn't offered as of yet. She has redoubled her efforts, lashed out, and remained stubborn, and her road to recovery is getting shorter with each action. It's already being referred to as the Hollywood the character that was once expected to lead Disney's next major series may have just turned into one of the most stunning failures in recent history. Not because of one poor movie, but rather because of the decisions she made when she was most in the spotlight.